Hi, I'm MCreator and welcome to another video, which is going to be an MCreator or an MCreator, depending on how you want to pronounce it, I suppose, tutorial. And in this video we're going to be making custom biome. We're going to have some structures to go in the biome, we're going to have some entities, we're going to have some tools and some crafting and some particles. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to teach you everything from step one. So obviously first thing we need to do is make a new workspace. We're going to go with the Minecraft Forge mod, and you want to think about your name, so we're just going to call it a mod because I'm obviously not going to be working on this for that much. So first off, if we create it, it'll take us to that page there, and we can just close that. And now we just wait for all of these tasks down here to finish. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is go up and click on the workspace icon that's there. That will take you to the screen here. And now we could either click on the plus, but we're going to be creating a biome. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add some wood. So we can actually press on this handy icon up here, which is to create a wood pack. So we're going to call this a cherry set or pack, because I'm going to be creating a cherry biome because I think that's going to be the easiest one, and it'll include all of the features that we're going to include in this tutorial. So we can just pick a nice colour, it doesn't really matter. This is relative to an oak wood pack, the power factor, so number one will be oak wood, and you can make it less powerful or more powerful, but because it is obviously a wood pack, I'm going to keep it at the same power level and create it. And then it'll actually do a ton of the work for us and come up with all of this stuff. Obviously the colours aren't exactly right on a lot of them because it'll use exactly the same colour. So let's change those real quick to something a little bit more nice. So if we click on here, we can see this, and all we need to do is click on it, and we can either choose a texture that we've already made, or we can press to create the texture, which is quite easy. We can press create. We want to do this nice and quickly, so we can press on this button here, which is a stamp, and on this base texture bit right here, and then we can go in here and pick all of the ones that we've already got done for us. Now we could click this, but we're going to do the outside and the other bit separately. So you could bother about colour matching and all that, but at the end of the day it's not really going to matter. So I think I'm going to want my cherry wood to be a nice shade of kind of pinky reddy, let's say. So we can pick that colour and press colorize, and it'll colorize it, and you could even lock saturation or brightness if you want it to be that vibrant. I actually think I'm going to go with a little bit of a lighter colour because that was a little bit extreme. And this will probably be okay, and then we can just click to save this texture and name it something like cherry log top, and we can save that, and we can go over back to our cherry log to the top, and we can change the texture to that, and then we've got the top and the bottom. So we're going to want to save that. You can do that for all of the others, so let's just do that real quick. You should actually change this to a default basic block, because the weird thing with MCreator is that those leaves will actually decay when they're attached to the log for some odd reason. So you just want to change them, the block base, from the leaves to default basic block, because otherwise it will decay and that will cause a lot of lag and not be great. So whilst we're going over the blocks, we'll go to the properties. You can set all the properties, like what you want it to sound like, what tab you want it to be in, what sort of material it will be. You can choose a custom drop, And so if I wanted it to drop stripped jungle logs, it could. Or you can use loot tables, which we might come to in a future episode. You can also choose the thing that you want to be able to destroy it. That's fine. You can also go to properties and advanced properties. You can mess around with all of these. They don't really change that much, so they're pretty okay. And then you don't want it to tick randomly. Don't check that box, because it will, if there's a lot of it, it'll cause a lot of lag in your world, which won't be that good. So all of this will be fine unless you want particles. You can choose from all of this list here. If you want it to be a tile entity, we'll come to that in a future episode as well. Entity, fluid and storage, don't need that either. Triggers, you might want it. We'll come to that possibly later today, possibly in a future episode. So you're not going to want this to generate, because obviously it's cherry planks, so it's fine. We'll just save that. And we're going to move on to creating the biome. So we're going to press to create a biome. We'll call it the Cherry Grove. And then we'll just create it. For your grass block, you can really choose any block in the game that you want, or any custom blocks that you've created. But obviously we're just going to go with grass. And for stone, you're going to probably want to go for stone. So once you've got that, you can change the air colour to whatever you want it to be. We'll change it to a nice blue. You can change the grass colour. We can change that to a nice red. This is going to look really weird, but it's really just demonstrating to you guys how it works. I'm not trying to create anything great here. So then we can go on to custom trees. We can choose of all of these tree types. Let's choose birch trees, for example, and then we can choose the stem, which we're going to put as the log, because that is the log. The branch is going to be the leaves, because that's called branch for some reason, or leaves. And next, we're going to, you can choose the height of the trees as well. I'll just keep them as normal. The features, you can change how many trees. Seeing as it is going to be a cherry tree forest, we're going to turn that up quite a bit. We'll put a little bit of grass up as well. Seagrass. You can mess with all of these, they're fairly self-explanatory. If you press the plus button on these features, you can see all of these. They're all fairly self-explanatory as well. So next, going to structures, you can click any of these, but do bear in mind that a lot of the time when, for example, if you click woodland mansions will spawn quite often in your biome, because obviously they're quite rare. And you can also choose custom music and sounds and that. They don't really matter. You can also choose particles. So let's create a particle for our biome real quick. So we can go to here, we can click particle. We'll call it the cherry leaf. And then we need to get a texture for it. So that's fairly easy. Just open up any paint app. So let's open that up real quick. So for example here, I've just literally got Paint 3D. It's an app that pretty much comes with most computers. So we can go to our canvas. We need it to be 16 by 16 because that's the size of Minecraft particles and stuff. We just want it to be a cherry leaf. We can spend as much or as less or as little time on this as we want. So this can be our cherry leaf here. Lovely, lovely cherry leaf. And we can save that as a cherry leaf. And we can save that. And then let's go back to MCreator. So now we go and press this green X here, and we can press home. We can go to this PC. We can go to our pictures or whatever it is, to our saved pictures, and we can select that, and then drop this down, and we can select it. So then you can mess around with all of these. They're fairly self-explanatory as well, unless you've animated it, which you haven't. If you've done it the way I've done, you don't need to check any of these. The render type, they're fairly self-explanatory as well. The lit means that it will be shiny, and the visual scale is just how big it'll be. So if you want it to be really small, you can mess with all that. We'll put it at the kind of normal. We'll put it at 1 so we can see it easier. And then we need the bounding box and height. It doesn't really matter at all because it's a particle, so just leave that as it is. Speed factor, so that's how fast it's going to move. We're going to put it at 2 because we're going to be mainly using the gravity here, which is if it'll fall to the ground. So if we turn that up a little bit, it means that it will fall to the ground. And all of the rest, they're fairly self-explanatory again. So we can then save that, and now we have our cherry leaf particle. So we'll go to our cherry grove. Just one thing that I've actually forgotten is you actually need to go to the canvas option and you need to turn the transparent canvas off, otherwise it'll turn up with a white background, which will be kind of awkward, but it doesn't really matter that much. We're just going to fix that real quick. You don't want the white background on. That will look a little bit odd. So then we're going to check to enable particles, and we can pick our custom particle, and we can turn the spawn probability up or down as much as we want. Next, entity spawning. Now you probably want to choose what mobs you want to spawn in this biome. We're not going to really need anything really, so it'll be fine, and we're going to add our own custom entities later in the video. So next, generation. Now if you want it to generate in the overworld, check this box. If you want it to generate in your own custom dimension that will be covered in a later video, then uncheck that and it won't spawn in the overworld, and you can specify in the dimension box that you want it to spawn in that biome. So biome rate, the smaller it is, the rarer it is. Biome temperature, that affects all of these things. It will tell you. MCreator is fairly good at that. The biome temperature, so in desert it won't rain, and cool it'll spawn. In cool it'll spawn on the outskirts of the snowy areas and near the taiga biome, and in icy it'll spawn near the snow biome. We're going to keep it on warm for now. Category parent, all of these you can mess around with. The base height generation, so if you want it to be really weird and tall, you can mess around with that. Why not? We'll have it that tall. And we'll check so that it generates in the overworld, and then we'll just save that, and we'll see how that weirdness turns out. So then we can actually go up to this green arrow in the corner and test out how all that went. So let's see. Yeah, as I imagined, it looks very, very odd. We obviously have the red grass and the incredibly tallness, because you gotta remember that turning that box up is gonna have a serious effect. And man, this Minecraft music is making me feel really nostalgic. So now that all of that worked fairly well, one thing we are actually gonna go and do is click on cherry leaves, and we're going to click that it has transparent parts. So we'll just click that just to make sure that it looks normal in every way it can do. So now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have some mobs that spawn in our biome. So we're going to go and create a living entity, and we're going to call it a cherry cow. Now we have actually a few models that are built in to the program, and these are the ones that you're going to want to be working with for now, because trust me, it's a really complicated process to mod in the models, but I might show that in a later video. But just for now, for the sake of simplicity, we're going to use a cow. There's lots of places online that you can do this. For example, PMC Skin 3D. You can go over to there, you can click on it, you can go to Advanced Edition, and bam, you can go File, New Skin, and you can choose from pretty much all the models there. So you can just click on your own cow. It's really simple. There's plenty of tutorials for PMC Skin 3D out there, so go and watch them. They'll be fairly simple. And create your own texture of any entity that you want. And let's get back to the workplace. So I actually have one of these ready made, so let me get that real quick. And now we obviously want the collision box, The spawn egg options, I'll just pick some random colours for those, but you might want to think about those. You got the spots and the other one. Now the entity label, don't do that, it'll put like a name tag above it, for example. Living sound, you got a ton of sounds to choose from right there, so there you go. Why not? And we've got lots of characteristics to think about, so we're going to select a creature because it's a cow. We don't want it to be attacking us. Its default drop, we'll just get some steak. Oh, it's not called steak. We'll just get a mushroom. Why not? You can search through all of those, but for now it's going to drop a mushroom. Now, creature type, you just need to pick undefined for this one. The experience amount, all of these, they're really self-explanatory. The render distance is how far it can see you from and how fast it is, and all of that. If you want to be able to ride it, why not? We'll just click these, because why not? Now, you don't want to click these because it's a cow, obviously, and all of these cows are not immune to any of those. So, let's move on to particles. You can add cherry leaf particles around it if you really want, if that's what floats your boat. GUI, we'll come to that possibly in a later video. Triggers, we'll come to that in a later video too. Entity base, now it's a cow, so this is its AI, so we can click cow, and yep, that's pretty much all you really need. And spawning, now you can see in these, you want it to go to creature for the spawn type, and for the biome where it can spawn, we're going to pick cherry grove. So now that we've done that, if you want it to spawn in dungeons, that's if it spawns in the little mob cages that are under the world. So now we can save that, and before we check that out, let's make ourselves a custom cherry tree. You're going to want to put it on its own little floating island bit, because it's going to basically every now and then just spawn it floating in the air randomly, and it'll look a little bit less weird if you've got the floating island to compensate, and it won't happen a whole lot, but it will just look better, so trust me. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go /give structure block. And now that we've got that, we can place it down there, go to save, and we need to get this box that is about to appear over our structure. So as you can see, it's over there right now, so we're going to want to maybe move it a little bit further this way. There we go, that's about over it. And then you basically just you're gonna want to stretch it around the thing. So that's going to take quite a bit of fiddling. So let me just do that, and I'll be right back with you guys. So now that that is relatively over the tree, what we're going to do is we're going to do a /fill from where you are to where you will be, and we're going to fill it with structure voids. And we're going to replace air. So we're going to do that, and we're going to fly up and across so that it will engulf your entire structure, just like that. So now all of this will be structure voids, and that basically means that inside this area, all of these blocks can be replaced with other blocks, so you don't get kind of jarring borders, and it will work out pretty well if you do it right. So we're going to go over to our structure block, and we're going to place a block back. We're going to go into spectator mode. We're going to go down inside the structure block and get back into creative mode. So now we're inside it. We're going to save it as cherry tree, and then whatever number it is. I'm just going to put a random number in, and then you can press the save button, which is over here. So now that we've done that, we're back over in the workspace, and we're going to go to this button up here. So for now, you're going to want to go to MCreator workspaces, to the mod you're working on, to run, to saves, to the world that your structure is on, to generated, to Minecraft, to structures, and then you're going to want to click on the one that you want to use. So we're going to click open, then we're going to go to the plus, to structure spawn, we're going to call it cherry tree, we're going to create it, it should already be selected, but you might need to drop that down and select it, and then you need to do the spawn probability, which we're going to put to 500,000, which, because that's out of 1,000,000 chunks, so we're going to put it to 500,000. We can put it into groups for if you want to make an entire forest out of them, but it's fine, we're just going to keep that to maybe 2 for now. It'll randomize the rotation of it, so which way it's facing. It will delete the structure block, so you don't need to worry about that. And the spawn location, you can put it in the air, underground, depending on what you want to do with that. Because we've got the floating island, we're going to want to put it about 5 down into the ground, so that it's not always floating off the ground. And then the spawn world types will be surface, and you can restrict it to biome types, which of course, because it's part of the cherry grove, we're going to put it into the cherry grove, and that's it. We can save it. And then we can go and wait for it to load all of our resources. We can go to the thing, and that is your biome done. So let's go and see the result. This is the moment of truth. As you can see, I've done a little bit of tinkering to make sure that it looks a little bit less odd. Now, the particles are still raining from the sky. We'd probably want to reduce that if we were doing it as an actual biome, and obviously make it a little less tall. As you can see here, got a bit of quirky generation of the trees. However, it is looking fine, as you can see in the water. And let's see if we can find any other ones. As you can see, this one generated incorrectly and is floating, and this will happen a lot, especially if you've got steep generation like this. However, as you can see, it's looking fine because it's got its own little floating island. If you put it in the groups, some odd generation will happen with that, but all you really need to do is tinker around with it a little bit. But all in all, if it was a flat biome, it would all spawn like this, and it would be absolutely fine. So, that's the biome done. Let's see if we can find any cherry cows. So, as you can see, here we've got a nice cherry cow, and if we kill it, it should drop a mushroom, as you saw earlier. So, that is about it for today's episode. If you did enjoy, please subscribe to the channel, because it really helps me out, and I'll be sure to put out a few more of these tutorials in the future. Goodbye!